Hey everyone, welcome to Singularity Beast II Build Log Part 10. Now I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this one patiently, some of you impatiently. I apologize for the delay. I've had a lot to do since the last Singularity Beast II video. I've had a couple of client builds to get through. I'm actually still in the process of doing one right now. And of course, my clients are always going to get priority over anything that I do. Anyway, I should get on with it. So here I have the other fan controller. So this is going to be going up next to the other Lambtron FC5. So there's going to be two of those underneath that switch panel. And that will run all of the radiator fans. Behind that, I have a bits power LED station, and that's obviously going to be running all the LEDs in the build, of which there's going to be quite a few. And here I have a couple more Thermalright X-Silent 120mm fans. Now there's two types of fans that I'm using in the build. I'm using the Phobia fans on the radiators, and these Thermalright X-Silent 120s for case fans. I want to have positive pressure inside the case. It's a great way of keeping dust out of your case, you know, from getting in all the little cracks and through this ventilation in the back here. I've actually already talked about this a fair while back with this build. So yeah, I need to have a lot more fans blowing in than out. I've got all the final cables. I needed some extension cables to clean up the build a bit. So you can see the extra power to the motherboard is always a mess, because you've got to run it all the way down to just there above the graphics cards. So there's a 6-pin PCI Express and also a floppy, 4-pin floppy power connector that needs to be plugged in there. So that's what all this is. Here I have all the water blocks, so the one for the Rampage 4 Extreme. And I also have two for the memory, but I still have no idea if I'll be installing those or not. It just depends completely on how it looks. I don't want it to be too crowded. A whole bunch of dust filters here. So this is the dust filters that I'm going to be using right through the entire build. Those DEM-CI dust filters are going to be going off the front, and I'm looking forward to getting rid of those because I think they look horrible. They ruin the aesthetics of this case. They are an excellent dust filter, don't get me wrong. I love the DEM-CI dust filters. They have a fine mesh, they catch absolutely everything. They're an excellent dust filter, but yeah, they just don't look good on this build. There's no way of sticking them underneath this front panel. I've really looked at every different scenario. Here I have 4 Phobia LED strips. They're 30 centimeter. And they're all UV. Here I have all of the lighting and extension cables for the lighting. So I've got the red LEDs, they're all 3mm, and they're all custom sleeved. Now these lights, I don't think I'll be using these. These are just some laser UV lights and things. But yeah, I've just got them there just in case. Now here I have some of the new Corsair single sleeve cables. So Corsair have brought these out for the AX and HX power supply series, and they're not cable extensions, they're actually modular cables that go directly to the power supply. I did have a look at these in Singularity Hardware Order Analysis video 10. I'm now going to get on with installing this hardware into the build. So I think I'm going to start with the rest of the dust filters. Okay, I've removed the front panel, side panel and top panel, and I'm just in the process of giving the system its first dust clean since I built it. And the dust filters have really done a great job because there's only a very light film of dust over everything, so it's not going to be a big job to dust clean it. It's going to be very easy. I'm going to, clean up all the filters and everything like that. I just have the case panel sitting down there. Now I actually filmed the introduction for this video yesterday, and I ran out of time yesterday, so I decided to start work on the system this morning. And what I've decided to do is split installing the final hardware into Singularity Beast 2 into 2 videos instead of putting it all into one, because I'm not going to be able to fit it all into one. There's too much work to do. So it's better that I split it into 2 videos, because then I can actually show you guys more of the process instead of trying to squeeze it all into one. So what I'm going to do right now is remove this panel and get the dust filters installed on this panel. I've already installed the second fan controller here, so that's all ready to go. I've actually plugged the power into that because I had that already sitting up here, and all I need to do now is bring up the wiring for the other 6 fans and plug them into this new fan controller. Okay, I've installed the dust filters on the 3 fans on this side, so you can see I've got that panel out. This panel is actually designed for another 360mm radiator, and that's actually what I got it for, but you know, I did talk about this during the build. I've got plenty of radiators anyway. It's total overkill, and the way that I wanted to configure the build, I couldn't actually fit a 360mm radiator here, so I thought it would be better to, you know, have 3 more fans, case fans for extra ventilation, just to give more airflow over the components but also more air to the radiators, because I do have this one sucking in, but you know, that's blowing lukewarm air up. I thought it would be good to have cold air coming in through the front, then a bit can go out the back and a bit can go out through the top. So anyway, I did have a good think about the thermal design when I first built the system. So what I've done here, I've used these Allen key bolts, and I've gone right through the dust filter, the fan and the panel, and come out the back here, and then I have a washer and a nut, and as you can see they're all black to match up with the build. Here they are here. This is what I'm going to use on all of the fans, you know, to install the dust filters onto them. They're the perfect length. So there we go. I'm now going to get this panel back in again, and I'll give you another look once it's all mounted. Okay, I've been working for over 3 hours now. It's taking a bit longer than I expected. There's just so much work to do. You can see it's a bit of a mess in here. I don't normally work like this, but I'm in a bit of a hurry to get this system up and running again so that I can upload some videos. So I've spun it around. This is the only way that I can work on it in this room. I really don't want to move it because it's, you know, to another room because it's very heavy. So I'm trying to work on it, you know, not far from where it normally sits. That's why it's sitting precariously on an angle. But so what I've done, I've put that panel back in, so that's all finished with the fans bolted on and the dust filters. Really happy with the way this looks. The dust filters are really close to the front panel ventilation, which is great because it means that I can get the vacuum brush through there and clean the dust off, you know, without having to pull the whole thing apart. So it's perfect. And it looks excellent as well. I'm looking forward to getting the front panel back on to see how it looks without the DEMCI filters on there. I think it's going to look great without those, because yeah, you'll be able to actually see the case. Now what I use for dust cleaning, I just thought I'd show you, is a Dyson handheld vacuum. I've forgotten what model this actually is, but yeah, it comes with a few attachments, but I actually bought some other attachments for it, and they're great, perfect for dust cleaning computers. Okay, I've pulled this fan off and cleaned it, as well as this fan. I've removed the hard drive cages. I've now bolted these fans back in there properly how I want them, with the dust filters on there. Now the way I had these temporarily was with those rubber anti-vibration mounts, and I had to use them, you know, all the way around the build, because all you don't get anything to thread into, just these holes here. So you actually have to, you know, bolt right through and have a nut on the other side. So that's what I've done. Same as I did with that other panel that I showed you. So you can see there's a washer and a nut on the other side. Same thing at the bottom there, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do with the hard drive cages shortly. That's a different matter, but yeah, they mount here. So I've started on the cable management. On the right hand side, all this, I've basically just been dismantling that. I'm in the process of pulling it apart to swap the cable, the wiring over. I'll show you the Corsair modular cables soon. I'll give you a good close look at those. I still haven't decided on what I'll be using. I know I'll be using the red ones, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go all red or if I'm going to do a combination of red and black. So I think a combination of red and black is going to be a lot easier. It means that I don't have to go out and replace all my extension cables with red ones. Now I've also started on the lighting. I have the Bits Power LED station mounted up here now. I've actually just finished mounting that. I've got power going to that, which actually comes from here, which this is connected to the switch panel on the front of the case. So this Bits Power X station is to power all of the LED strips, of which I think I'm going to have probably 2, maybe 4. And that is also connected to the switch panel on the front of the case. So yeah, LED strips go to this big button here, and the LED station will go to the smaller one. Okay, the new Corsair individually sleeved cables. So as I mentioned, I've got a red and a black kit here, both for the AX1200, and I've had a good look around and I've come to a final decision, at least for now anyway. I'm going to use a combination of red and black, but I'm only going to use the red kit. Wherever I have to use extension cables in my build, I'm going to leave them as black, because I already have all the extension cables that I need, and if I go red, I'll have to go get new extension cables again. So what I'm going to do, if it looks good as red and black, I'll leave it. If it looks bad, if I don't like it, I will go out and replace all my extension cables with red ones to match up with these cables. But everywhere where cables go direct from the power supply to the components, I'm going to use these red cables. So there we go, just a close look at the sleeving. You can see that the actual wiring is the same color as the sleeving. You can see it just there. The wiring is red, and on the black kit the wiring is black, so they're matching up the color of the wires with the color of the sleeving. And I prefer small sleeving because I like to hide my cables. I don't like them to be big and bulky, so really for me this is the ideal sleeving. So I'm going to get these installed and get on with the build. And yeah, I think I'm going to go right through until completion now. So yeah, I'll finish off the lighting, the cable management, I'll get everything installed back into the system, and then I'll give you another look. Okay, I've done about as much as I've got time for. I think I've worked for a little over 4 hours now. This video is a little bit different. It's a marathon of me working on Singularity Beast II. So at the beginning I intended to do more than this, but this is all that I've got time for. I need to get the system up and running again, so I'll just run you through what I've done. I've actually had to pretty much redo almost all of the cable management. So I was showing you this side of things before. I've actually changed all this again. This is all the wiring for the radiator fans, and also for the fans on this side, of which there's only 2 at the moment, but it's also for all of the lighting and the LEDs, which I do have connected up now. You can see they're 2-pen LEDs, and I have, how many? 5 of them. Okay, there's 2 on the CPU water block, 2 on the pump top, and 1 in the res. But the one in the res is not bright enough. I'm actually going to pull that out when I, upgrade the water cooling system and install a temperature sensor in its place. So you can see all of those LEDs go down and then through and into the pump top in there. And also another one goes through into the res. So this is about as neat as I can get it. There is so much wiring here, it's just unbelievable. This needs to be plugged into the hard drive, so that'll be a lot neater. I'll actually show you once I've installed the hard drive cages. It does look a lot better because it covers up all this here. So you can see the red wiring for the graphics cards, that's all hooked up, and that looks awesome. Looking forward to showing you around the front of the build. This time I've used these Nexus Velcro ties instead of cable ties because I'm chopping and changing components all the time. I'm always pulling this build apart, upgrading and changing things, and I am going to be getting back in here again soon and changing things a bit again with the wiring. Even though the wiring is pretty much finished now, I'm pretty happy with everything. There's still some things that I didn't get time to do today, which is the installation of the LED strips. I haven't installed any of those, and also the installation of 2 fans just there. So that will have to be for another day. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. The wiring has been cleaned up a lot. So that's the 6-pin PCIe there that goes to the easy plug on the motherboard, and also the floppy cable that goes to the motherboard. And I've got a couple of LED wires. You can see they go from there all the way across there, and yeah, a bit of extra length coiled up just there, and then they go into the CPU. I was actually going to put another cable tie around up there to clean that up a little bit, but I don't think that looks too bad. So there we go. I'm now going to also make the decision whether I want to go all red wiring around the front of the build, or a combination of black and red, which is what I have right now. But anyway, I'm going to get the hard drive cages back in, get it all wired up, and I'll give you another look around the back of the build before I turn it around and give you a look from the front with the system up and running. Okay, the hard drive cages are in. The fans are mounted in the front of the hard drive cages. Everything's wired up and ready to go. Now, I didn't get a chance to show you how I mounted the fans in the front of the hard drive cages. All I did, you can see that screw head just there, I didn't bolt all the way through the fans, I just bolted through one side of the fan. So the nut is basically done up like right in the middle, in the center of the fan, because the fans are inside this part here. But anyway, I didn't actually do the top one, I only did the bottom one. So when I work on the build again in the next build log video, I'll show you exactly how I mounted those fans. So you can see the wiring here, I've really cleaned that up a lot. It's still not perfect, but it's a lot better than what I had before. What I'm using there is a Silverstone 4-way SATA power splitter, because what I had before was this, and look at all that cable length. It's a lot to deal with. It was quite a mess. So the 4-way SATA power splitter has definitely cleaned it up a lot, but what looks messy still is this massive thing here. So if I can find another 4-way SATA power splitter that is a lot cleaner and preferably like sleeved or something, I'll grab that and install that, and obviously that'll be a very quick and easy job. So, but for now, that's a lot better than it was. Anyway, dust filters are all installed. I've set the fan controllers to red because you can actually set them to all different colors. I'll give you a look around the front once the front panel's on. It looks great. I've put the top panel on. I haven't installed the dust filters in the top yet either. That's something that I'll do in the next part of the build log. There we go. I just fixed that up. looks a little bit better now. I just tied it all together instead of having all the separate ties. So one more final look. Those red cables just look absolutely awesome, mainly around the front of the build. Alright, I'm going to get this thing booted. Okay, I've just hit the power button and I've got the front panel on now. You can see the fan controllers look absolutely awesome in red. They suit the build perfectly. They go with the switch panel really well. Really happy with that. So the fans are all up and running from the fan controllers now. I'm actually going to turn them down a bit. That's why I have these fan controllers installed, because yeah, I'll probably run the fans at about 1000 RPM, maybe a little bit less, for 24/7 use, and then when I'm benching and overclocking, I'll turn the fans up to the max. So one more thing I should do is replace that with a red one. On client build log 4, a lot of people commented on the Republic of Gamers case badge, this one. It actually comes with the Rampage 4 Extreme, the Rampage 4 Formula, and probably a few other ROG motherboards. You can see the dust filters on this panel are actually a little bit further away compared to this panel. Yeah, the dust filters behind this panel are very, very close, but I think it looks awesome. Just being able to see those filters through the front panel looks excellent. Okay, so you can see the PCI Express power cables. They look awesome. Really happy with that, and I think it goes really well, the red and black cables. I think it works perfectly, because I also put red cables on the 8-pin EPS, and there's actually a 4-pin next to that as well. I think it looks great. Works really well. The sleeving is obviously a bit different, you know, on these cables compared to the 24-pin motherboard power, but yeah, it's kind of unnoticeable. So alright, you can see the red LEDs there in the pump top. They don't actually light it up very much, they're not that bright, so I don't know if they're worth having there or not. I'll decide once I've installed all of the UV lighting. I'll see how bright it is. It might completely drown out those LEDs, and if it does, I'll get rid of them. So the CPU water blocks lit up a lot better than it was, but still not as bright as I would like it to be. But anyway, I think that's good enough, and yeah, once the UV lighting is installed, it'll probably have the glow in the dark effect anyway, so it'll light it up nicely. And I might even shine some UV lasers towards it or something. So I've installed the new PCI, 6-pin PCIe power cable there. Nice big long extension cable without having the connectors, you know, inside the build, so that's why I changed that cable around. Now I had to stick with the 4-pin floppy configuration that I had before. I wanted to change it to get rid of that connector just there, you know, so that connector was out in the back of the build. So I did get a longer extension, but instead of having a female 4-pin Molex, it had a male 4-pin Molex. So I was unable to connect it up because I didn't have any converters handy. But anyway, it's pretty well hidden. I'm happy with that. I've used a Bitphoenix Alchemy 45cm extension cable to get to that, and instead of having two like there was before, there's just one now. So yeah, that's all good. Now I have an LED just there, and that's doing absolutely nothing. That's a Lund's lighting module, I think that's what it is, but you can see it comes up to about there, and with a nice bright LED that would light up nicely. I might look at getting, you know, a brighter 5mm red LED and see if that makes a difference, but at the moment it's not even worth having. And yeah, I'm pretty much 90% sure that I'm just going to swap that over to a temperature sensor. So this side of the build still looks pretty blank. I was able to hide those cables really well. I'm happy with that. But what I'm going to do is I'm either going to get a case badge and put it there, like a Singularity Computers big case sticker, or I'm going to put two SSDs in RAID 0, the Corsair Force GT SSDs, and I'll probably put them like right there next to each other. I think that'll look absolutely awesome. I'll just velcro them there. So, but anyway, that blank spot with the side panel on, the window kind of comes to about here, so you can't see it anyway, so it's not that critical. I'm going to get the side panel on and give you another quick look. So there we go, the almost finished product. Alright, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like and favourite if you want to see more.